Hi guys, so I just wanted to go over our slope of a line lesson today, which again is some review. We're getting close to the end of the review unit, but yeah, this is important stuff that we need to know. In particular is, of course, this one, f of x plus h, that's going to come into play a lot when we get into calculus here. So um, yeah, I guess if you haven't done the bell work yet, take a minute to pause the video and do it. And I'll assume that you come back in a second here when you're ready for it. So, welcome back. And let's now quickly do it. So, for plugging this in, what we're doing is we're just taking that x plus h, as we did yesterday, and we're plugging it in everywhere that there is an x. So, this would become 2 and then x plus h cubed minus 3 times x plus h, like so. Um, so then obviously we need to kind of expand these. This one's pretty easy. This one is a little bit harder. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that x plus h cubed, and we're going to think of it as x plus h times x plus h squared. And that's going to make it a little bit easier. Now, if you remember the binomial expansion, by all means use it. I find that most of you don't remember it, and so it's easier to just do it this way. Okay, so then we're going to leave the 2 out front. We're going to leave that 1x plus h out front. And then we're going to take the one that was squared. So it's a perfect square. So we know it's x squared plus 2 times the middle term of xh plus h squared. Then we're going to distribute that 3 in to get negative 3x and negative 3h. Now I need to go ahead and take the x plus h and multiply it all the way through. So we'll leave that 2 out front still. And then we're going to get x cubed plus 2x squared h plus xh squared. And then now we're going to put that h all the way through. I suppose I probably should have drawn my little rainbows here just to kind of remind us. So now I'm going to put that h all the way through. So I'll get x squared h plus 2xh squared plus h cubed. And then, of course, we just leave the rest of it there, that negative 3x and negative 3h. Now, why did the last step here now is to put this 2 all the way through, or to combine our like terms and then put it through. It doesn't really matter. So I'm going to put the 2 through first, because I think that that's most likely what most of you will do. So I'd get 2x cubed plus 4x squared h plus xh squared plus 2 plus 2xh squared plus 2x squared h plus 4xh squared and plus 2h cubed. Now that 2 doesn't go in these last two terms here because of course the bracket only goes to the h cubed, so that 2 isn't multiplied by the last couple. Then what we need to do is put together our like terms, so I'm going to use a highlighter here to kind of help us with that. There is only one x cubed, but if we look at this x squared h, we've also got some x squared h's here, and if we look at the xh squared, we've also got some xh squareds there. So what we need to do now is combine those ones. So we're going to get 2x cubed plus 6x squared h plus 6xh squared plus 2h cubed minus 3x minus 3h. And there's nothing else I can do. That is as simple as it gets. Obviously, it doesn't seem a whole lot simple, but that is what it is, and that's often what happens with these composite functions is they do end up a little bit more complicated sometimes because it's the nature of putting two functions together. All right, so let's jump into this and let's look at a slope of a line. So this picture might look a little bit odd to you, but remember all we're doing here is we're looking at the rise over run. Okay, and what that represents here is if we look at the rise, it's written for us as y2 minus y1, and our run is x2 minus x1. Okay, so let's go ahead and work that out. Keep in mind this example one is not the line that's shown here. It is a different line that combines these 2 points. So for our slope, we're going to look at our 2 points here, and I'm going to label them x1, y1, x2, y2. So if we look at that y2, it's going to be 5 minus 7, right? Because those are my 2 y terms. On the bottom, I need to keep it in the same order, so it's got to be x2, so 4 minus negative 2. Now when we do that, I'm going to get negative 2 on the top, and on the bottom here, 4 minus negative 2 is really 4 plus 2, so 6. And I will simplify that then, because we should always simplify. I can divide them both by 2 to get negative 1/3. All right. You guys go ahead, pause it, and try this practice one. All right, I'm assuming you're back. You've given it a try. And so now what we can do is we can do the same thing. So I'm going to get 5 minus negative 3 over 7 minus negative 1, because again, I'm taking this one minus the first pair. Okay? Now if I do that, 5 plus 3 is 8, and 7 plus 1 is 8, so I get 1. Now, just in case you decided to do it the other way, I want to remind you that it does also work the other way, so if we went and subtracted this way, we'll get the same answer. So negative 1 minus 7 over negative 3 minus 5. This gives us negative 8 over negative 8, which is still just 1. So no matter which way you do it, it stays as 1. The key is just to keep it in the same order. If I use this as my first point, it needs to stay the first on top and bottom, both x and y. And vice versa for the 7 and 5. It needs to be in the first spot. Okay, now what's the other thing they can do? Well, they can give us sum of the points, or 1 point, and the slope, and then we have to work it out. So let's write what we know still. It's still going to be, I'm going to write the full equation. Now, obviously, you don't need to show all of this if you're understanding it well, but kind of shows us where we're at. So then what I can do is I can plug in the things I know, and I know my slope is negative 1. I know that y2 here is a, so it's just going to be a minus negative 5 over 4 minus 2. And then what we can do is we can simplify that. So I've got negative 1 is equal to a plus 5 over 6. Now at that point, sorry, not over 6, over 2. My apologies. What I need to do now is solve for a, which means I need to get rid of this 2. So I'm going to multiply both sides of the equation by 2. And the reason I'm doing that is so that it will cancel those out and leave me with negative 2 equals a plus 5. Then, of course, to get a by itself, the next step is to get rid of this 5. So I'm going to minus it and get negative 7 equals a. Okay? Once again, give it a quick pause and try this practice 2 so you can try it on your own. All right, welcome back. And this time I'm going to skip that first step where I write out the equation because, yeah, it's not new for us. So now I'm going to go b minus 7 over 5 minus 5. And I get something kind of weird here because this part here is 0, which means that it's undefined. Now, I don't know if you guys remember, but what kind of a line is going to give us a run, because that's what's on the bottom, that is undefined. It doesn't go anywhere. Well, that would be a vertical line like this. Okay. Now, if it is a vertical line, then the interesting thing about it is that it doesn't matter what b is. The y value could be anything. So we can say, therefore, b is an element of the real numbers. It could literally be anything. It does not matter because it's just a vertical line. So y will change, but x is always 5. All right. Let's take a look at another example here. So this time we're going to write our slope and our y-intercept. So this one's fairly easy because we've already got it in our form that we like, which is y equals mx plus b, when m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. Now I'm hoping you remember this. All right, so in that case, this one's nice and easy because m is simply negative 3, and that m's are, the slope part. And the number at the end there, b, our y-intercept, is simply 3. Now, when I look at this one, it's a little bit trickier because it's not in that form. So what we can do is spend a little bit of time doing some algebra to make it look that way. So I'm going to move this 3y. So I've got 3y is 4x plus 5. Now you'll notice I wrote it in the reverse order, but it means the same thing, right? It's just that 4x plus 5 is equal to 3y. It doesn't matter which order I write it in. All right, then I need to divide by 3, and of course if I divide by 3, I need to divide everything by 3. Now keep in mind, some of you will write it this way. It means the exact same thing as this. I'm going to write it this way because I think it's easier to see what our m and our b are, but it means the same thing. So now I've got y is equal to 4x over 3 plus 5 over 3, and now it's real easy to see. My slope is that 4/3, and my b value, the y-intercept, is 5/3. All right, so once again, we've got a practice here, so you're going to have to rearrange this one. Give it a pause, give that a try. All right, so we had 5x plus 2y minus 8 equals 0. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take the 2 and move it over. again. And again, I'm going to write it with the y first. Negative 2y is equal to 5x minus 8. Then I'm going to divide by negative 2, and again, that means I'm going to put all of these by negative 2. Now, it doesn't matter where this negative goes as long as it's there, so I'm going to put it in the middle. Negative 5 over 2x. And this simplifies. Negative 8 over negative 2 is actually positive 4. So my slope is that negative 5 halves, and my y-intercept, or b, is simply 4. Alrighty. So last kind of thing that we're going to look at here is we're going to take a look at writing the equation of a line. So again, this time we're going to go and try and write it in this y equals mx plus b form. Okay, so we have a slope of 4, y equals 4, x, and our y-intercept is negative 5, so we can just write it like that. But what if they don't give us the slope and y-intercept? What if they give us 2 points, like in b here? Well, we already know that I can find the slope, so let's do that real quick. Negative 5 minus 3 over 4 minus 2. That gives me negative 8 over 2, or negative 4 for my slope. Now the issue is here, if we think about this and try to plug this in, I'm going to get y equals negative 4x plus b. And so I have this unknown. I actually have 3 unknowns right now, y, x, and b. But I can use one of these points, it doesn't matter which one, plug it in, and solve for b. So y is really 3 at this point, and x is really 2. Now I only have one unknown, and I can algebraically solve for it. So 3 is equal to negative 8 plus b, and so I can add 8 to both sides, and I will get that 11 is equal to b. So my equation is y equals negative 4x plus 11. Now, again, I like to show you guys that it's the same no matter which way we do it. So let's go back to the beginning there. Not quite the beginning, but where we had the slope plugged in. And let's use 4 minus 5 just so we can see that it does in fact not matter which one we use. So y is negative 5, x is really 4. And when I work that out, I get negative 5 equals negative 16 plus b. Add my 16 to both sides, and I get 11 is equal to b. So either way, I will get the same answer. It does not matter which point you use. All right, so now you've got to give this last one here a practice. So pause it. All right, so hopefully you were able to see it's the same way that we just did this. We got to start by finding that slope. So 1 minus 6 over 2 minus negative 4. That gives me negative 5 over 2 plus 4 over 6. And there's nothing I can do to simplify that, so that is my slope. So then I'm going to go y equals negative 5/6 x plus b. Now, we can plug in either point that we want. I would recommend this one because it's smaller numbers, so it'll be a little bit easier. So 1 is equal to negative 5/6 times 2 plus b. Then, of course, I can simplify that because 2 over 6 is really 3. So if I want to, I could say, oh, well, 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. So now I've got 1 is equal to negative 5 times 1, just negative 5, over 3, plus b. And so now what I need to do is, of course, add this fraction to both sides, and this is where we got to remember how to deal with fractions, so I'm going to do that up here. So I've got 1 plus 5/3 equals b, which is good, but it doesn't really, I can simplify this. So remember, I need a common denominator, so I can make this 1 3 over 3, then get my 5/3. Now I can put that together as 8/3 equals b. So my equation would be y equals negative 5/6 x plus 8/3. And that would be my fully done equation. So guys, hopefully that wasn't too bad for you. You remember it. It was a good review. Now all you need to do is go ahead and do the formative there. And that takes us to the end of the lesson. So I will see you guys next time.